Another benefit potentially is that can help you kind of budget for known expenses. If you know you're doing Invisalign or some kind of LASIK or something for your teenage kid to get braces that's not covered by your TRICARE dental program, you know that's coming and maybe it's a little bit easier. But just to let me see how many ACE bandages and first aid kits I'm going to buy this year. Let me contribute $3,000 to this fund. It's probably not the best from that.
Welcome to the Military Money Manual Podcast, where every episode is all about achieving financial independence in the military faster than before. We believe personal finance shouldn't be boring or intimidating. Building wealth can be simple, and financial freedom is the ultimate financial goal. Now, here's your hosts, Spencer and Jamie.
Hello, everyone. Spencer Reese here, MilitaryMoneyManual.com, joined by my co-host, Jamie. Today, we're talking about the new healthcare flexible spending account, which has become available to military members of the Department of Defense recently. In fact, first year you can sign up is this year, 2024, kicks in next year. So let's dive right into it. This is going to be one of our faster, funnier episodes. Jamie, what is the healthcare flexible spending account? HCFSA, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, so the HCFSA is a flexible spending account like you'll hear about for your civilian counterparts or your family members may have done. And what it does is it now allows active duty military service members, and we'll get a little bit more about who else is eligible in a second, but it allows military service members to participate in this program where you can set aside pre-tax dollars to pay for eligible healthcare costs. So as a pre-tax benefit, if you contribute $1,000 or $3,000 to this, it lowers your taxable income by the amount that you contributed, $1,000, $3,000, up to the maximum, which we'll talk in a second. The FSA is in general flexible spending account, not a savings account. So that'll help the benefits of this or what it might be used for. But FSAs are very common in the civilian workforce, and they're much different than the dependent care flexible spending account, the DC FSA that we released an episode on a couple weeks ago with Brandon Levenger. Both of them are relatively new, but they both have their nuances that make it where you really need to look at it and determine if it's good for you. Well, so each service member, if your spouse's civilian workplace or if you're dual military, you can each have one. But in general, the military service member can contribute up to $3,200 per year in 2024. That's subject to change each year, and that'll be the same for 2025. So if you're both earners are eligible for a healthcare flexible spending account through their own employer, then it could be up to $6,400 total maximum per year for the couple. The minimum contribution is $100. And so that's pretty much it. You have an expense. We'll talk more about that in a second of what a qualified medical expense is. But you take a picture of your detailed receipt from Long's Drugs or CVS or Walmart or Amazon or whatever, and you upload it to this website. And then within a week, you supposedly will get reimbursed via check or direct deposit.
You said you can upload receipts to a website or an app. What can you upload receipts for? Like, what is this spending account designed to be used for?
So there's a website on FSAfeds.gov, and you can look up the full list of expenses, but I pulled off some examples. In general, we're talking about healthcare or medical related stuff that's not already covered by TRICARE. So it could be copays for your family members, eligible drugstore purchases, over-the-counter medicines. Amazon even has an FSA eligible filter on their search tool. I think Walmart and other companies like that do as well. Wellness services such as chiropractic care, acupuncture, or massage. Dental care that's not covered by your TRICARE dental program, orthodontist care, eyeglasses, laser eye surgery, other vision services, physical therapy. We're going to get really nuanced here in details of things you could buy at Walmart, but Band-Aids, pregnancy tests, blood pressure monitors. Some things require a medical necessity note signed by your doctor, such as activity trackers or smartwatches with some limitations on there. We're talking everything from condoms to emergency medical kits and first aid kits for your car, exercise equipment if it's to be used for a medical condition with a doctor's note, even Rogaine or hair growth treatment for those of you that are struggling with that as you age, even listening therapy. I'm not sure what that is, but that sounds awesome. Massage guns, mattresses with some limitations like $800 max every 10 years with a doctor's note, menstrual care products, mileage to and from different types of care, and prescription sunglasses. So that's just a sample of it. Like I said, FSAfeds.gov will have a list of all the eligible items.
And again, you're putting pre-tax dollars into this account, so I assume that you'd be contributing from MyPay. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a deduction from your LES, so you have to basically estimate how much that you want to put into your flexible spending account for the year, and then they divide that out over your pay periods.
And who can use it right now?
So right now, this new program in September 2024 expanded it to military service members. It used to be more for government civilians. So now we're talking about active component, reserve component members performing active guard reserve duty on Title 10 status, as well as the DoD civilians who had it before.
So you keep saying it's a spending account, not a savings account. Can you get into the nuances of that?
In general, it's designed for you to use it all for that calendar year. You can roll over a maximum of $640 from one plan year to the next, but only if you've re-enrolled in the benefit the next year. So if you contribute up to $3,200 and you only use, say, $500 of benefits, then you have a use or lose situation there. And on the FSA feds.gov, they say, hey, there's basically no risk of use or lose. Well, there is, because you can only roll over $640 to the next year and you have to re-enroll. So there's a potential that you missed the paperwork or you missed the deadline. You do have until April 30th of the following year to submit claims from expenses in the previous calendar year. So April 29th, 2026, you can still submit a claim for the Band-Aids you bought in 2025 to get you an extra $499 of reimbursement if that's worth your time.
Knowing how many people let their driver's license expire, I think there's a huge risk that benefits are going to be go unused. But what about, let's talk about like some of the financial benefits here. Let's say you do sign up, you contribute, a couple bucks a month, $10 a month, that's $120 a year. That does meet the minimum. What kind of impact is that going to have on your finances?
Not much. The amount that you contribute to your healthcare flexible spending account lowers your taxable income for that year. If you're looking at your taxable income and your effective tax rate's 12%, we're talking maybe $300 or so. It's not a lot. And that's assuming you contribute the maximum of $3,200. Another benefit potentially is that can help you kind of budget for known expenses. If you know you're doing Invisalign or some kind of LASIK or something for your teenage kid to get braces that's not covered by your TRICARE dental program, that's coming and maybe it's a little bit easier. But just to let me see how many ACE bandages and first aid kits I'm going to buy this year. Let me contribute $3,000 to this fund. It's probably not the best from that. To summarize, it's not subject to your federal income tax, your state income tax in most states, or your Social Security and Medicare taxes. So a slight tax saving is really the only benefit.
Let's say you sign up, you can enroll FSAfeds.gov. Annual federal benefits open season is mid-November to mid-December, just before the start of the new year. Or you can also enroll outside of the open season if you have a qualifying life event, a new kid, marriage, PCS, something like that. Like we said, it's a payroll deduction on your LES. Jamie, any use cases you could think of that this would be valuable or somebody could kind of use this automatically?
Other than the one where I mentioned where, there's a known expense for a teenager getting braces or LASIK or something like a major expense like that is not. Again, you're still only going to save a couple $100, but if you're going to spend $3,200 on braces and none of that's covered by TRICARE, you can save a couple $100 by doing this. Trying to justify it for myself, the only thing I could really think of is massages, and it's rare to have a tax benefit for that. My wife and I do get a lot of massages, so I just ran through some quick math here. My base gym here offers them for $60. If I got one a month, that'd be $720 a year. Sometimes I get a 90-minute, or sometimes I do more than one in a month. So let's say between my wife and I, we spend $2,000 a year on massages, which, don't judge me. I can contribute $2,000 via the deduction on my LES, assuming I enroll properly during the open season in the fall. Side note, there is no lump sum option. You can't directly contribute to it on 1 January and fund for the whole year or anything like that. But you are able to access the full amount of your account on day one of the year. So if you set it up to have $2,000 in there by the end of the year, you can spend $2,000 on qualified medical expenses on January 1st. I'm not sure how that timing would work with the LES and the pay periods, but that's what they say at least. So my taxable income is then lowered by $2,000 for the year. And according to the calculator on FSAfeds.gov, in the 22% tax bracket, I would save $440 next year with a deduction per pay period of about $77. That's about it. Not a big saving, $440 for the year for the best use case I could come up with for my family.
Jamie, I'm going to say I'm not that impressed. This kind of seems like a check the box operation where somebody was like, hey, what kind of benefits can we give the military that doesn't actually cost us anything? Military service members usually have very low taxable income. So let's say your marginal rate, you're in the 12% bracket, you put the maximum in there, $3,200, and you manage to spend all of it on something medical related, you're saving $384, but you still spent $3,200. I mean, okay, you can take it out. You spend $2,800 after the tax savings. It's hard for me to see who's going to really benefit from this. I mean, it's not simple. It requires a lot of record keeping. I always like to talk about, low cost, automated, diversified, and simple. And if we can kind of apply that heuristic here, it does lower your costs, but it's not automated. It's not very diversified. You have to spend the money on something healthcare related. And, that being said, it is pretty flexible in what you can spend the money on, but it's not simple. There's a lot of record keeping involved. And, this isn't going to benefit anybody who's in a much lower taxable income scenario. So if you're like, I don't know, E5, E6 or below, or like an O1 or an O2, like your taxable income is super low. So even if you put money in here, it's not going to save you anything because all it's saving you is your taxes. If you have a kid and you have a child tax credit, that offsets your taxable income. But like, I can't really, the only use case really is kind of the one that you came up with where you're higher income, you're in a high taxable income bracket, and you like have a known expense coming up in the next year. And then maybe it's a couple $100 of savings. But yeah, I think this is really low effort. And I'm really disappointed actually that they introduced this, and they're probably going to flog this as like, hey, new benefits, like sign up now. And it's like, you're not putting any money in my pocket. Like you're just like, this is like a subsidy for Band-Aid.
Go check out FSAfeds.gov. You can look at the calculators, savings calculator there. You can look at the HCFSA data and see exactly what's covered by it. There's even resources already on Military One Source about it and how this pre-tax benefit might work for you. Maybe we're missing something. I don't think so. If you do think of a benefit for this or where you think we're just way off the mark on this, you reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk through it and hear your perspective. You can reach out to us on Instagram at Military Money Manual or via email podcast@militarymoneymanual.com. We hope that getting this information out there quickly, shortly after it's there, will pop up when people search for it. Is the HCFSA worth it? And things like that. And you get some data here to help you make an informed decision for your family.
Just a quick note from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to the show. Hey, Jamie, we got a lot of great people out there listening to the podcast. Any resources you'd like to point them to continue the education on financial independence in the military?
Yeah, if you're getting value out of this podcast, but you just want a little more detail or some more practical steps, you got to check out the Military Money Manual book by Spencer Reese, A Practical Guide to Financial Freedom. In here, Spencer laid out everything that he wished he had been told when he first joined the military, and it's going to help you build wealth and take advantage of your benefits while you're serving on active duty or in the reserves or in the Guard.
The Military Money Manual is available on Amazon, Audible, and my website, shop.militarymoneymanual.com in hardcover, paperback, ebook, Kindle, and audiobook. Podcast listeners are eligible for a special discount by using promo code PODCAST when you purchase the Military Money Manual on shop.militarymoneymanual.com.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions presented here are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views of the DoD or its components. Reference to any commercial products or services does not constitute DoD endorsement of those products or services.